It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 405. Tonight I'm joined by Mo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
Unacceptable.
Kodra.
Howdy.
I'm as surprised as you are.
And Thalen.
Did you know that anchors originally weren't designed to hold ships in place? They were used in combat, shot from cannons as a grapple when you were trying to board another ship.
I got that wrong. 405 is not not acceptable.
It's method not allowed.
No, that is not true. You have Dave Grossman to thank
I'm
for that.
It sounds plausible.
It does. No, there's he came up with a whole bunch of spurious anchor facts, and then did just enough research to determine that none of them were actually accurate.
Yeah, no, it sounds reasonable. It would work.
And this became the new Monkey Island's How You Skip a Dialogue tutorial. The problem being that it's interesting enough that you don't want to skip it.
So I guess that's a segue into our very first topic. Well, actually, we're gonna make it the first topic then. So, New Monkey Island came out.
It did come out, and it's so good. Anytime, one of these creators who returns to something from years and years ago, there's always that worry of do they still have it? Can they still make this thing? Because I knew Ron Gilbert can still make games. He's made other games since then. I knew Dave Grossman can make games, but could they still do Monkey Island? The answer is yes. It's so
That's
very good.
Awesome.
Yeah, it really is a thing because you don't know how much of that game's success was the person deciding to make it again.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the game is still very new, and I haven't finished it, and I wouldn't want to spoil stuff for anyone anyway. But they don't erase any of the previous games. All the other games are they happened.
I feel all of the games happened?
Yeah.
Okay. I have not played all of the games. How important is it to me that I have?
Not at all.
Okay.
There is, in fact, there's a little scrapbook that you can look at before starting the game that will tell you the most important things that might be good to know, Guybrush and Elaine fell in love in the very first game and are married, things like that. But yeah, no, you could go into this with no previous knowledge and you'll be fine.
What's it on? What's it available on?
I got it on Steam, but I think it's on
That's all I needed to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was planning on playing it on the Steam Deck.
Same.
It is on. Yeah, it's on Mac, Switch, and Windows.
Love it.
I was going to say that one of Ron Gilbert's original collaborators definitely made a game that you definitely wanted to have played the originals for.
Which game is that?
Psychonauts 2.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Psychonauts 2 is very much just the continuation of the story from the previous game. Yes.
Which, I am going to say, I absolutely loved. It made a very cohesive story, but it also meant as soon as I loaded up Psychonauts 2, I was like, oh, this game really needs me to know what's going on with all of these characters. I need to go back and play Psychonauts 1 and then borrow a VR set so I can play Rhombus of Ruin.
Yeah, basically all you really need to know here is Guybrush and LeChuck are arch nemesis. Monkey Island is very much central to their ongoing arch nemesising, and that's about it.
Okay. Is Elaine still the mayor?
Elaine is no longer the governor.
Okay, governor, yeah.
Yeah, she was deposed / unelected after not being around for a while. I believe she was thought dead at one point. But yeah, in one of the previous games, a different governor had been elected, and that was part of the whole thing. And at this point, there is a different governor, a character that you have met before if you've played the original game. And that character and Elaine get along much better. Elaine seems perfectly happy not to be governor anymore. She's got plenty of other stuff going on. It's fine. She has her projects. Her current project involves limes.
I am putting that on the list. That seems like a game I could play.
Oh yeah, it's it's a point and click adventure designed to run entirely off of just left and right mouse button. Guybrush and Murray are both voiced by the same people who have always voiced them. It is a new voice for LeChuck, which takes just a little bit of getting used to, but
unless you haven't played it in forever.
Well, yes. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so this next topic, I am not sure what it is. Tam?
So, you know how Thalen just mentioned that when one of those old creators come back and you wonder if they still have it?
Uh-huh.
Well, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Other times...
Other times they have a Kickstarter, and 8 years later, maybe there's going to be a game someday.
I was going to say, when I saw this on the list, I thought, wasn't that one of the well-known failed Kickstarters?
I mean,
Two Guys Spaceventure is the first game that I kickstarted. It's like one of, if not the OG Kickstarter video games.
Oh yeah, sorry, 9 years later. The Kickstarter was in 2013.
Like,
all right,
it is older than Star Citizen. It is older than like everything.
Except Broken Age.
Broken Age. Broken Age is the only Kickstarter I know older than it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's out. It's actually factually, officially out now.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, it is.
I did not know that.
Install it and play it. It came out. It came out the week the baby was born.
Can everyone come play it, or just
it's
backers?
out for backers as of the 16th of this month.
Yeah. I don't know if you didn't back it. I don't know if you didn't back it. I don't know what it would take to play it. And unfortunately, I'm also here to tell you that it kind of doesn't matter. So it's based on Space Quest.
Yeah, it's Space Quest by the guys that made Space Quest, but they don't have the license for Space Quest.
Yes, it's Space Quest by the guy that made by the guys that made Space Quest, the titular two guys from Andromeda, and honestly, I wish it were good.
Yeah,
but
like from the beginning, I just had I just don't know.
Kind of sad.
It's yeah. Like, and the thing is, I only got like 10 minutes into it before I was just like, it was sad enough that I was like, I don't actually want to give this any more of my time.
Oof.
Because it's like, it's clunky and it's got like some real, I don't know, just so top to bottom, graphically, it looks like a game. It looks like if you took a game that had been made in the early days of 3D, so like 1998, and remastered it. So it's like it's sort of like big blocky shapes that have been smoothed out. And it's not like visually terrible, but the game opens up. To give you an idea of what's happening with it graphically, an email was sent to backers shortly after it launched that said, oh, hey, by the way, the game, the puzzles in the game can break if you run at a resolution higher than 1920 by 1080.
Well.
Like,
when you said an early 3D game remastered, I was thinking something like Anodyne 2, but that's intentional. And you're saying this doesn't sound as intentional?
No.
It's very important not to go above that resolution, as some of the artwork mechanics may cause bugs.
Yes.
Oh my. So
yeah. So we're already not starting from a great place, as, I'm now running this in a window, which doesn't lend a good feel to the overall game. But also, Roger Wilco is an endearing character.
Mm-hmm.
He's an endearing character, and like, for anybody not familiar, Roger Wilco is the main character of Space Quest. He is the janitor. He gets into a bunch of problems.
He's pretty incompetent.
He's like, yeah, he's not very competent. He's kind of quippy. He's semi-resourceful, and like the clever writer, like the clever voice of the game is the narrator, who spends a goodly amount of time making fun of Roger.
Yes.
Who deserves it.
Like some of the best parts of the original Space Quest are when Roger dies and the narrator is very, very mean about it.
Yeah. And that's a thing that, you know, a lot of these old Sierra games have a lot of character in, they put you in an environment and you're usually rendered, it's like, here's a screen that's like 10 inches by 14 inches. And you take up about maybe an inch of that screen most of the time. And then you can walk around in that screen. You can kind of explore it. You can look at a bunch of different things. They sort of pioneered the like, hey, here's the verb cursor. You can switch the cursor to do a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of what feels like it makes the game feel big and interesting. And
yeah, the star of Sierra games was typically the landscape and the world.
Yes. Yeah. And it was like, oh, hey, there's so many little details in this art that I want to click around it and find out, like, what'll the characters say about it? What are the various comments? What's going on? The opening moments of Spaceventure are you pulling up in something that looks basically like a space roto-rooter van. And then you stand in an airlock, and your character is a little bit, rather than like lovable, it's like rather than lovable doofus, the way that Roger Wilco always was, your character is kind of like surly plumber. He's like he reminds me of the guy from Married with Children.
Oh.
And like not misogynistic the way that guy was, but just like
unpleasant.
Not like, he's not endearing. It's missing the byplay where like part of what makes incompetent Roger Wilco endearing is because the narrator is openly mean to him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, okay, I kind of want to side with his character just because the narrator is being a dick to him. And that's satisfying. And
like, Zap Brannigan only works in Futurama because Zap Brannigan is the butt of every single joke.
Yeah.
Right. And this is like
wasn't there another adventure game sort of remake thing that made the same error?
I think yes.
So,
it is.
So I know one I'm thinking of that reminds me very clearly of is I don't know if you ever tried the game Deponia, but the protagonist of that game is just so utterly unlikable that I played through like the first room and then quit and never came back to it.
Yeah, it's the Hero U problem.
Hero U, that one.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh, they gave your standard generic looking hero a voice and they shouldn't have, because that voice sucks.
Yeah, because like, I mean, in general, Sierra games, like the protagonist tended to be a pretty blank slate, especially early on. Like Graham is just, there's not a lot to him beyond what you bring to him. Certainly not in the original game. Alexander in King's Quest 6, like he is standard Prince Charming.
Yeah,
but
and when you do,
but the world's so cool that
Yeah, well, and when they do have a personality, they're usually kind of, it's like bumbling but lovable.
Yeah, it's Roger or like Larry.
They mean well, but they just don't know things.
Yeah,
and that works because you as the player also don't know things, so people can explain. It's like you open up all of this space for exposition because your character is kind of a bumbler who doesn't know things in world, but that provides cover for you, the player, not knowing things.
Rather than, hey, this is like the hardened hero of the Space Quest games who's been doing this forever, and now they're kind of just rolling up to this thing already jaded.
No,
Yeah,
Roger never reached that point.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing, is that like Roger never reached that point. In the first, 3 minutes, there's this character is like provably competent, which sure, I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but he's also like kind of already tired of the job. He's like, just take me to where you roll up to this space station where there's clearly evacuation happening, and this person who's like competent enough to figure out why the door is busted, why the airlock door is busted, is like, yeah, it seems weird that all these people are fleeing. They must be in a hurry. And like, it just plays wrong. And then it doesn't help that like visually it's not very appealing. Like, I don't really want to stare at a screen that's like 40% the back of my character and the rest is a flat gray airlock.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't lead me to want to click around and be excited to look around. And like, it sort of has this like heavy-handed, hey, this character seems suspicious, but again, not endearingly. And it's a real bummer because I love the Space Quest games. And the thing that gets me is that sometimes I will play something like this where I'm like, oh, this is patchable.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's some problems here, but this is patchable.
But this is more fundamental to it.
This is fundamental. This is like, I don't like this character. I don't want to spend time with this character. Visually, I'm not that impressed.
Well, it's really hard because there's so many people that are doing the point-click adventure game really well. Like, you have studios like Wajidai that are creating games that could have walked out of the 90s and been recognizable, but are still also beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, if you haven't tried the Blackwell games, those are fantastic. I think Wajidai has a new game coming out like next week.
I think so. Yeah.
Or maybe it came out this week. I just know I saw it seemed like, because I'm really good at scheduling, here's my game coming out right after Monkey Island.
Right,
It's
exactly.
Wednesday. It's coming out on Wednesday.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the other thing. You're like, there are so many people doing games in like doing basically point and click adventure games that are doing really interesting and clever things.
Yeah.
Like, and so I feel like I would forgive it more if it were also doing clever things. Like, I would just be like, all right, I can write this off as this isn't Space Quest. This doesn't feel like Space Quest, but it's doing something interesting. But like, the innovative mechanic that it brings is click and drag.
That's not particularly innovative.
Honestly, I would say that maybe don't make a point and click adventure game where you need to like click in a specific part of the screen and drag in a direction to indicate some kind of rotation of movement. Because the very first puzzle is, how do you open this airlock? And it involves figuring out where to click on the handles and drag them in which direction to rotate them in the right order.
This sounds like it would work better as like a iPad game.
Probably. Like, yeah. In a world where Disco Elysium exists, or like,
the bar is pretty high.
Yeah, like this would have been. This is a game that could have been released shortly after The Longest Journey and been good. Because at the time it would have been released, it would have been like, hey, this is a refreshing, back to basics,
yeah,
like point and click adventure game. And unfortunately, The Longest Journey was released in 1999.
Yeah.
And it has, I mean, I'm not going to say it's got the same graphics. It doesn't. It does look nicer. It's not awful, but it's just not it. And I wish it were. It's been on my, It's actually why I'm excited about this Monkey Island thing, because games that I can play with just a mouse are very high value at the present moment.
Yeah.
Hey, a new expansion for Stellaris just came out.
It's true.
A new expansion in which you can make your leaders die as quickly as you recruit them.
Maybe don't do that.
Maybe don't do that.
I saw several people try this, though.
Spoilers, you need leaders to do
You
basically
need leaders.
anything.
Yeah.
You can do science without leaders now. It's just a large penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. You still can't survey without a leader, though.
Correct.
In sort of my final sign off for Two Guys Spaceventure, I can't actually find it on my PC now.
Oh no.
Like
Oh.
I had to install it through itch.io, which isn't a deal breaker by itself.
It's also not the greatest user experience.
Yeah.
It's not a great user experience. And we're talking like we unzipped an exe into a folder.
Itch's actual launcher is okay, but a lot of people don't know it exists because they don't force you to use it.
So you've got it installed somewhere on your PC.
Somewhere.
Just don't know where.
It sure didn't have there sure wasn't a like install shield even.
Yeah, if it was intended to be distributed through itch, that probably, again, if it had their launcher, it didn't really need one because it just goes to a place and sits in the launcher.
Wow.
And yeah, it's not installed. It's just an executable that sits somewhere wherever you happen to put it.
No, legitimately, I have no idea where this thing is now.
It's just gonna wait there on your computer like a booby trap until you stumble upon it. This does make me wonder. How is the Colossal Cave Adventure going to turn out?
Colossal Cave Adventure 3D?
Uh-huh.
That seems like such a weird project. But Dwarf Fortress is getting graphics, so
Yeah.
That said, I think Dwarf Fortress is going to be quite good, in fact, when it comes out.
I mean, Colossal Cave 3D makes perfect sense to me when it's explained that, Roberta Williams got bored and convinced Ken to learn Unity. Like this is effectively how Mystery House got made. Like, this is exactly how Sierra originally started. Is Roberta Williams played the original adventure, was like, that's neat. I wonder if I could write one. And made Ken build tools to assist her in writing it. And it went from there.
Nice.
As one do.
Yeah. So, I mean, that from the sound of it, like, that's basically just, it happened again.
I mean, Colossal Cave 3D was at PAX West. I just didn't pay a lot of attention to it there.
I mean, I'm sure I will buy it when it comes out. I don't know if it will be good, but
It doesn't really have to be.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's time for the Garfield topic.
What?
I hate Mondays.
It's as Garfield
Oh.
intended.
Different Garfield.
Different Garfield. Richard Garfield.
I mean, he might also hate Mondays.
So I've been getting into Pokemon more and more. And so now I'm like, okay, what is it look like to play Pokemon in like a store or in a tournament or something like that? And what I have been doing is playing a game in which I play a basic Pokemon and then I try to evolve it into a stage 1, and if I'm lucky, a stage 2. And then I am attaching energy to it at a rate of about 1 energy per turn until I can use all of its attacks. And then I'm trying to get it into my active slot so it can start doing some damage.
You believed the instructions.
That is exactly how Pokemon purports to be if you read the instructions. That is not how you play Pokemon.
I'm pretty sure that has never been how you play Pokemon.
I do think you're correct, mostly because trainers used to be exceptionally broken, and they did fix them.
Yes.
They did kind of fix them in that all of the trainers that draw cards for the most part, at this point, are all supporters, asterisk, or they are card negative. Like you have to discard 2 cards to draw a card. Unfortunately, now there's just like in the current standard metagame, 12 different tutors. Or there are 3 tutors, of which you can have 12 of in your deck.
That is too many.
And so you can basically, the way you actually play is you need a deck in which you can get a Pokemon into play and fully energized within a single turn so it can start doing damage. There is no building up between turns. And so like you need to have something that is cheating energy into play. Or searching energy up and cheating it into play. Like you need to be breaking the 1 energy per turn rule, like every single turn.
Cards that pull energy out of your graveyard existed since the very beginning of the game. But
Did
not
they-
all of them enabled fast energy on your Pokemon.
Yeah.
That was one of the things that made Venusaur so good when it came out.
Got it. But yeah, so I was looking at this game and I was like, this is interesting, but like every deck is playing a combination of combo and dredge. Like every or there are some decks which have the ability, like if you meet a certain condition, you ignore energy cost for this Pokemon. Those are very good. But like that does limit what your options are here. And I was I was also looking at, and it kind of struck me because like there's a bunch of games that are like this where like the way that they purport to play and the way they actually play is very different. And one of the things that kind of surprised me when I came back to Magic a while ago, and still kind of surprises me, is that for the most part, Magic kind of takes the shape that you would intend it to take, at least in Standard.
I mean, like we were saying before the show, like I remember a time before Standard.
Sure, but like I am building a deck that has about 2/3 to a half lands, and then I am putting in a mix of creatures and spells.
I guess my question on that one would be, where are you getting that expectation from?
Yeah.
Because I don't think Magic tells you what that expectation is anywhere.
Certainly that was not the original expectation.
Yeah, not by a long shot.
Like, I guess that those are mostly the things that you have access to. I feel like if I look at the original Magic, it sure seems like there was a bunch of mistakes that had to hastily get corrected, like
Well, sure.
Moxen and Lotus, and like basically all of the spells were too powerful and all of the creatures were too weak.
Well,
Yeah,
because
but,
you're
like,
supposed to be a wizard.
Well, the
Sorry,
intent
Planeswalker.
was that you would never have more than a couple rares in your deck ever.
Yeah. Like, the idea was, you would buy some packs of cards and you would build a deck, cobble together a deck out of them and play against other people. And like rare cards could be super powerful because they were rare. So, and
Right, but even from the very beginning, that hasn't been true in Magic.
Yeah.
Yes, that quickly was proven. Not to work.
But I think about like, if I don't have somebody to shepherd me into the game of Magic to tell me this is how you make a deck. I don't
So
know
for the
that
deck
you'd ever
building, I
figure that
absolutely agree. But for the most part, when you're playing Magic, you put things on the table and you swing them, or you cast spells that make your opponent not have life anymore. And you do one of those two things until you win the game.
Yeah, that part mostly works, except when it doesn't.
I mean, obviously, as
But
soon as you
mostly.
leave Standard, this becomes less true. And as soon
Yeah.
as you leave Modern, it becomes not true at all.
Yeah.
Like, and like,
Except Commander. Commander, you can still do these things.
sure. I was going to say, or I mean, Commander's a very social format. You can also not do those things. It's just not fun to play.
Fair.
But with sort of like, I was just looking at the metagame for Standard decks right now, and it's basically, there's a couple of aggro decks which are basically trying to play very, very cheap creatures, very, very fast. And then everything else is mostly mid-range, which is like, I'm trying to like play a suite of creatures that goes from like 1 mana to like 5 mana, and I'm trying to like play them out on curve. I don't know, like that sort of, and maybe this is where I am, like this feels more true to the like original vision of the game than how I feel most games look now. Like most CCGs look nothing like what they're like, what the rule book sort of leads you to imagine. Because
that's my big comment about Magic, is that Magic also falls into this category in a very big way for me, where I feel like the rule book told me something that is not what the game actually was.
What do you feel like the rule book was telling you that the game is not?
The rule book told me that I was a wizard. I'm going to cast a bunch of spells and create and like be a master of a particular specific color or whatever. And that's going to be how I do it. Not you are playing probability to get out ahead of a power curve.
I guess when I look at the rulebook, though, a solid half of it is about how you interact with creatures.
I'm thinking of the old rulebook.
Now, yeah.
Yeah, now. But I don't even, that's why I say I don't even know what a current rulebook even looks like. I've never even seen one.
I'm talking about the little paper pamphlet that was in every starter pack.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I remember the like 30-page little starter deck package that I saw in all of my little brown boxes that I read cover to cover, and it was like 50%.
And we had no clue how to play Magic after reading it either. Like, it was incomprehensible.
I didn't get to see those until the game had been several years old, and by that point, the creature thing was definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the large part of how it tells you how Magic is played.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still think of Standard as T2.
Sure.
Type 2 Magic.
Yeah.
AKA not the normal Magic. It's the new thing.
Yeah, there's Type 1, there's Type 1.5, and there's Type 2. And yeah, like, this is the issue is, like, Standard and Modern exist because there were a whole bunch of errors made early on in Magic's history. And for me, it feels like what Standard is what Magic was trying to get to, and they're able to do it because they've been able to, like, scrub out the mistakes.
I mean,
I will point out that a lot of other games either don't have rotation or don't have anything that resembles Standard. So, like, Vintage is basically what, or really Legacy, is more what those games evolved into.
I would say that Standard is pretty close to what they realized Magic needed to be.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like, I would not say that Standard is what Magic was originally designed to be, because
it is not what Richard Garfield originally imagined.
Magic was not designed to be a sweaty competitive game. It was designed to be a fairly social game. And as such, like, I feel like Commander is more in touch with the lineage of Magic than Standard is.
Yeah, basically by the time we got to 3rd edition, that Wizards had realized that original vision did not work, but we are close to something that does work, and so let's do that.
Yeah, Commander feels to me like it hits the original vision of Magic closer than any other format I've seen, because it is like, you've got a character. Here's your character. That character is your commander. They dictate a huge part of your deck. It's a very, like, thematically driven thing. And I sort of see, like, the Pokemon version, like, Pokemon has this sort of, I'm not going to call it intuitive structure, but it has a structure that you expect from, like, every single other piece of Pokemon media. And everything I've seen is that the card game, like, the actual competitive play, or even anything outside of the most basic play, is just radically not matching that, like, player fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth noting that, the first Magic the Gathering video game, Sid Meier's Magic the Gathering, was a game in which you played a wizard, like, wandering around a game world, like, getting into duels and gaining new cards from those duels and slowly improving your deck, and like, something very in line with the way the game was originally described. And I still wish that someone would, come back and do another version of that game, but, more modern.
I mean,
you can look at what Garfield has been chasing since then, and is creating these games where, okay, well, the problem was you got to build your deck. I feel like that's what he's decided was the problem with his original Magic design. So now I'm going to give you random decks.
Yeah, too much power to the players.
Yeah, that didn't work out great.
He's still doing it.
He's still doing it. Like, he's got another.
I know.
He has a vision.
Unfortunately, that just makes in much worse. Like, chase. Like, instead of
that makes chase decks, not chase cards.
Yes.
Yes, I remember the overpricedness of Four Horsemen.
But yeah, like, we tried playing another game last night. Ash and I did, and
we played Vanguard using starter decks that I bought in 2013.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I kind of want to get in on the ground floor of another CCG before it gets completely solved. So we might be looking into something like that.
Someone is doing this, aren't they? Someone is making their own magic.
I mean, it's Disney. Disney is making their own
Yeah.
magic.
Disney is making their own magic. And boy, that's gonna be a time.
Yep.
I wonder what that's gonna look like. I wonder how many lessons they will have learned from other CCGs.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So, Star Ocean has a new game.
Star Ocean is a new demo, at least.
How does the demo play?
I mean, for starters, please understand that in order to be better than the last game, it has to clear the very low bar of having a working camera. And the demo absolutely does that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
It's definitely an improvement.
I was very sad about The Last Hope. I just couldn't play that game. Or sorry, Integrity and Faithlessness. I actually
Yeah, I
never
was gonna
played
say-
Star Ocean 4.
Oh, 4 has problems, but 4's combat was probably my favorite, of the more modern systems. Like I really enjoyed 2's combat a lot, and 4 was certainly more enjoyable combat than 5's for sure.
4 is Till the End of Time.
4 is The Last Hope.
4
Till
is
the end of
Four is
time is
Last Hope.
3. I love Star Ocean 3.
Yep, I still Star Ocean 3 has a very, very fond spot in my heart still, even after replaying it and kind of going but yeah, still
Maybe this game isn't quite as good as I remember, but still, I love Star
Exactly.
Ocean 3.
Yeah, no. Star Ocean 3 is definitely still up there for me.
I think my issue with Star Ocean 4 was it came out on the 360 and I didn't have a 360. And then when it came out on the PS3, I just wasn't paying attention anymore.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
Where did I play Star Ocean?
The only one I've ever played is the one on the PlayStation 1.
I think there were 2 on the PlayStation 1.
This was like
I
a second
played-
story or whatever, which was
Yeah,
the sequel, I think, to
the
the
second
one on
one.
the Super Nintendo that never came out over here.
That
I
is
played
correct.
Star Ocean First Departure on the PSP.
Okay, that was a remake of 1.
Yes.
And
Star Ocean 1 was really good.
I never actually got to play Star Ocean 2 because it got stolen from me before I could play it.
Oh no.
I have this like incredibly fraught relationship with Star Ocean games where I think I've tried to play almost every single one of them, but something unbelievably tragic has occurred that stopped me from playing any of them.
I think you had like the second disc of Star Ocean 3 when we were in college or something like
Yes.
that.
Yeah, right. So like I did play the first one on the PSP. The second one was on the PlayStation, and that's the one that was stolen before I got a chance to play it. There was one that was on like the Game Boy Color, and the only time I have ever lost a piece of computing hardware was when I lost my Game Boy Color on vacation with that game in it.
I didn't even know about this game's
What?
existence.
That was Blue
But
Sphere,
Star
I
Ocean
think.
Blue Sphere.
Yeah.
And then there's Star Ocean Till the End of Time is the PS2 one.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and I only ever had the second disc of that one for some reason.
Weird. Yeah, that's the one where, about 10 to 15 hours in, you finally get to the real game.
And then
Yep.
the Xbox 360
I mean,
one.
the game series has that problem.
My
It does.
Xbox red ringed on The Last Hope.
Wow.
I've really never actually played a Star Ocean game despite trying repeatedly because they seem like they'd be up my alley.
I mean, I'm starting to
It
think
really does.
maybe you shouldn't try to play this new one because like you don't want to lose the system that you would be playing it on.
Like maybe it's cursed.
Get up for PS4. Not
I was
PS5,
gonna say
PS4.
I could show you how to get it all running on your Steam Deck, but maybe not. Like Steam Deck doesn't.
I need that thing.
So again, I am super out of the loop. What is Star Ocean?
Star Ocean is an RPG series with sort of action combat in the sort of Tales sense.
Mm-hmm.
Its big thing is that it's sci-fi, but also fantasy. It
What?
really, really likes to mess with the whole Prime Directive thing.
Yep.
Like
What?
till the end of time, you don't really discover that this game is sci-fi until the 10 to 15 hours in.
That's not entirely true.
It's not
because
entirely
the
true.
opening is you
The
crash
beginning.
landing on this
It's
backwards
true.
planet
But then you spend but then you're on this backwards planet running around with
for like 10 hours.
Yeah. And then you leave that planet and congratulations, you're in the real game now.
So, like, if Phantasy Star is sci-fi Final Fantasy, this game always felt more like sci-fi Dragon Quest.
Yeah.
There are definitely some things that like this series tends to do a lot. Item creation, various
Yeah.
alchemical things tend to feature heavily. There tends to be a weird magic system that is somehow related to everything else. In 3, you can do MP damage and knock people out with that, and I think that also works in 1 and 2. Like if you run out of MP, that also causes you to get KO'd.
I think it was mostly a 3 thing. Maybe I don't remember though. I had the biggest problem with that in 3. That's for sure. Because
I mean, yes, because in 3, the main character is not his MP bar is not as long as it needs to be.
Yeah,
for him being the main character.
Yeah, mine, I managed to set up kind of okay. It was always like Cliff. That was always the big problem. But
Yeah. I tend not to have that problem with Cliff because Cliff destroys everything he runs into.
That is fair. He is very good at that. Also, a big thing for the older Star Ocean games is they were always, if you recruited X character, you can't recruit, Y character. But that's not so much an issue in the newer ones.
So is it tactics combat? Is it?
No, it's like
real
Tales.
time.
It's action.
Yeah.
Real-time action.
Real-time action. Okay.
It was like
Sort of Zelda-y kind of thing.
Okay.
it was really.
Interesting.
I remember it was really compelling. It was one of the first JRPGs to be doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think other than like actual Tales of Fantasia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like Secret of.
Yeah.
Secret
That's
of Mana.
being very kind to those games.
It's true, yes. But like this exists somewhere in between Secret of games and Tales.
I guess to be fair, the one we didn't get was a lot closer to what this actually ended up being. Tales of, I guess they call it now, what is it? Tales of Mana? Trials of Mana.
Trials of Mana, yeah.
That game is very close to how these games ended up actually playing. I think I mentioned it here, but the Trials of Mana remake is excellent and everyone should play it.
Yep, is very good. So now we've kind of entered a phase where I threw a bunch of pseudo current event topics in. So Nvidia had its graphics technology conference, which is really just their show. It's not like anyone else that does graphics attends the show. So it's basically just the Nvidia show that they gave a more legit sounding name to. But anyway.
And say at this point, the only people doing graphics are AMD, and Intel is starting to make their own cards too.
Yeah, but I think...
Yes, I know Intel's cards are terrible.
Well, I think they've pretty much died before they've even launched.
No.
But yeah, so Nvidia basically announced the 4000 series of graphics cards, and my God, are they proud of them?
Yep.
So
I stand by my decision to go ahead and buy a 3000.
I would
card.
definitely
That
buy a
feels
3000.
correct. And if anyone is waiting on the new graphics card, you might want to buy a 3000 while they're really, really cheap.
Yep.
So the
I bought
biggest
mine from the company that's not going to be making graphics cards anymore.
the biggest problem that I have with what they did is they played this really tricky game where we're going to release two 480s or 4080s, but one of them probably would have been a 4070 in any other environment, but we're going to call it a 4080 and we're going to confuse everyone, and everyone's going to buy the cheap 4080, which is actually worse than the 3080.
Sigh.
Disappointing.
So between generations, like they always announce the whatever 80 series cards early.
Sure.
There's
They're
a
the ones that
70%
sell best.
There's a 70% price increase between the MSRP of the 3080 and the MSRP of the 4080.
So how does this look if you compare it to the 3080 Ti, which is the one that they actually tried to sell for a price they wanted to sell graphics cards for, which I believe had an MSRP of
It is
$1,200.
$1,200, yeah. That's what the MSRP for the 4080 is.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So the problem with their pricing model is that, I mean, it's $1,200 for a 4080, whereas it was roughly $700 MSRP is what the intent was for a 3080.
Nobody bought them for that price. Nobody could buy them for that
you
price.
can buy them now for cheaper than that price.
You can buy them for significantly cheaper than that price now, yes.
You can get a 3080 on the aftermarket for under $500.
Don't do this. Do not.
If you do this, be aware of where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Just don't.
I mean, honestly, you can get a 3080 from like the actual manufacturer for a reasonable price these days.
Yep.
So
I
just do
was-
that.
Speaking of the just don't do that, how much of this pricing shenanigans is AMD not noticing what's going on in the crypto space?
AMD or Nvidia?
Or Nvidia.
I think a lot of it is they went into this expecting that crypto was going to be riding high, and we would have anchored our price expectations from pandemic pricing. But as a result, this same week, AMD has come out and knocked $100 or more off every single card they make.
Oh,
I think the problem is Nvidia is getting super into the AI computing thing, and they're focusing all their effort on AI preprocessing and ray tracing. But nobody's really supporting any of those things.
It's the future.
Like I wrote about this week, and Steam has a curated list of everything that supports RTX. There are 138 games in the entirety of Steam that support RTX in any form out of over 50,000 games. Like, it is not a large group that supports RTX. Most of the games you want to play don't support RTX. So the RTX performance numbers that they keep touting don't really mean anything when the raster performance isn't significantly better than any of the other cards. So I think we're going to go into a situation where AMD is going to focus on gamer cards and Nvidia is going to focus on artificial intelligence and, that into the market, and we'll see what happens. I have a feeling if things that came out ahead of this launch are true, supposedly Nvidia ordered lots of these chips. So it will be interesting to see if they end up taking a bath on them.
I mean, that sounds likely.
it seems very likely.
I mean,
Aren't they currently doing that with the 30,
Yes.
with the 30
Yes.
series?
They overproduced the 30 series.
I mean, they had an MSRP of lots more than a lot of money. So why wouldn't they, right? Clearly that was going to last forever, like everything else in crypto.
The line can only go up.
to the moon.
So in other news, Twitch is eating itself.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Man.
And this is not a good time. Like, okay, so there's a bunch of things going on right now. I'm not even talking about the drama that has happened surrounding Twitch or, the sexual assault allegations that OTK supposedly covered up or any of that stuff.
You talking about
Just talking about the bad business decisions that they've made.
Shanking their creators?
Yeah, so basically Twitch is doing away with the 70-30 split.
Because it's real expensive to run, all that streaming. It's, you have to understand that it's very expensive.
And what's hilarious is the sheets that they were using to try and justify why they need all this money is like retail AWS pricing.
What?
Yeah, like the numbers are just the ones you go get off their website, off AWS's website.
Well, see, because
that's not even a deal.
Because if they weren't using those, then they would be able to sell them to somebody at that price. Clearly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a huge problem. They've also done away, or they're doing away with hosting, so that you can't host another streamer, and that's caused a bunch of frustration.
That's weird.
So they want to make it harder to discover streamers.
And then recently they said that partners can stream on multiple platforms now, so long as it's not simultaneous. Because part of the difference between an affiliate like I am and a partner is you are locked into only streaming on Twitch if you are a partner, if you've signed a partnership deal.
So are they fully getting rid of all partner deals?
No, all partner deals are going to be the same. They're all going to be a 50-50 split.
They're just not getting... Oh, wait, then what's the difference between affiliate and partner?
Affiliate is like, I don't know, you get like 20% or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah, you
wow.
get nothing. You get nothing as an affiliate.
So you still have to be exclusive, but you only get a 50-50 split.
Right, you only get a 50-50 split. Well, but they've said they've modified their rules in an attempt to keep people from leaving the platform. Like, oh no, you can stream on other platforms, but you just can't do it at the same time. And at the same time, like as this is all going on, YouTube has come out and made it way easier to become a partner, has publicly announced that everything is a 70-30 split on YouTube. And also you can stream with music and they will sort out the rights management for you. And
What?
you'll still get
Wow.
money from it.
Wow.
That's actually making it tempting to actually start streaming on YouTube because
Yeah, that's
And at
pretty-
the
wow.
same time, like unlike Instagram and TikTok, they're officially monetizing shorts so that you get like a fixed amount.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like, so the problem with Instagram and TikTok is you get a theoretical amount from a fund of money
A fund
that
of
is
money, yeah.
to pay out all of everyone. But like one of the things that tends to do pretty good on those ugly vertical video sites is clips from Twitch, like clips of a moment in a game. So like I think YouTube is trying to set it up to where like here's a path where you can just take those clips from your stream and monetize those in a different way. But yeah, like so this is real interesting to watch playing out.
Yeah.
Probably less interesting if you are currently making your living on Twitch.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It sounds like there's a lot of people that are not going to be renewing their partner's contract.
That
I don't
is not
understand the
surprising.
end game here because like the numbers are something crazy.
I mean,
like
If the start is we don't make money on Twitch, which I suspect might be the case,
Right.
then they have to try to find some way to make money on Twitch
Or kill it.
or kill it. Yes.
yeah, I think they're leading
tax
towards
purposes.
kill it because
It's the Google approach.
Yeah.
I think it's something like the top 1% make up 90% of the viewership, something to that effect.
I mean, that's how things work,
So
generally
like
speaking.
if you run off the people that would care about that split, I don't know that people stay on the platform. I mean, when I have streamed, and in Kodra, you stream way more often than I do.
About once a week.
Yeah. Like I used to stream. I never liked streaming on Twitch, especially if there's somebody in your channel. It's kind of hard to hold a conversation.
I don't necessarily think I find that, but I do have Twitch open in like the other window.
I just mean the delay.
Oh, the delay.
That's baked
yeah.
into Twitch. That wasn't baked into some of the other platforms.
Yeah, when I'm watching others, so I watch a pair of streamers, and Thursday nights they do Puzzle Together, where they like have a big puzzle book, and it's like this is a collaborative effort. So like if you see something, say something. Like if you see a logical deduction, put it in the chat. And like frequently I'll post something that I see and then I'll be like, oh wait, no, that's actually wrong. And then it's like 20 seconds later, they're like, oh, Kodra has said like this and this and this. And then they're like, wait a second. No. And then it's like, they start putting it in and it's like, no, everything's wrong.
Yeah. Because like that's a lot of times when I would stream, I would have people that I know hanging out in chat. And I would be trying to have a conversation with the people that I actually know hanging out in chat. And it would just be miserable. It was just a miserable experience. Whereas if you were on Mixer or some of the other platforms, like it was almost real time. You could have a conversation with somebody while you were doing things. I think I've only ever streamed on YouTube once and it was fine. It was not that different than Twitch. Are you an affiliate, Kodra?
No, I don't do enough. I'm usually like streaming to an audience of 1, maybe 2 if I'm lucky. But I also stream at odd hours.
Yeah, I think they cranked up the requirements for affiliate since I got mine eons ago.
I mean, I think the average viewership you used to need was, 5? Maybe
I
10?
don't remember.
Something like that.
When I was streaming Elder Scrolls Online, when Elder Scrolls Online launched, I had quite a few at that time.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher than that now.
Yeah.
I know when I stream, because I just do art streaming, I just I don't get very many either. But I'll also, like Kodra, I stream at odd hours too. But it's just and they send you the little, here's how your stream did, and it's just oh yeah, pretty much the same as always, which is fine. It's just I stream more to hang out, with my friends and stuff. I'm not really streaming to be a big streamer.
So I did check. The concurrent viewer, the average concurrent viewership is not 5. It's actually only 3. That's still pretty low. But you do need to have a rate of roughly twice a week.
Yeah.
That
must be it. Yeah.
I wonder how much Discord in chat streaming has eaten up.
Absolutely just trashed it in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
I think. Because a lot of people, a lot of artists I follow just stream to people in their Discord.
Yeah, right. That was my thing is when I've looked into, do I want to stream? I'm I don't really actually want to stream publicly. I want to stream to my friends if they're interested. And I would just do that on Discord probably.
Yeah, and that's a perfectly good experience. I've done that a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has essentially no delay.
It's super easy to set up.
Well, I might have to look into that.
You don't even need OBS. You just say Discord stream this window.
Yeah.
Like
you don't need fancy software. You don't need I've thought about doing it and I got distracted from trying it, but I've thought about doing stealth game runs or streaming Star Citizen or whatever for anybody who's interested. And I would just do it via Discord.
Yeah.
Guess
Discord. I was going to say Discord's kind of a bit of a walled garden, but maybe that's what's attractive. You're not going to have any discovery, but you don't have to worry about any discovery.
Generally speaking, the promotion is of the Discord itself somewhere else.
Yeah.
I feel like discovery's been broken for a really long time on
It's
Twitch.
True.
Yeah, I was going to say I would consider given what I have seen of discovery, I would consider discovery on Twitch, if I'm the streamer, as a bug rather than a feature.
Right.
Not having it is an active draw. But also, at some level, I lack whatever little spark would make me interested in having random people see what I'm doing at any time. Whereas I know that's oh, hey, no, I think it's really cool to have random people drop in and see what I'm doing and offer their opinions. That I absolutely just don't want that in any way. So I'm missing that limelight desire or even motivation.
Well, and I've heard several times from different streamers that essentially in order to succeed on Twitch, you have to have a community that exists outside of Twitch that you are bringing people to Twitch with until you reach a certain critical mass. There was another figure that I saw that if you have 52 viewers, you are in the top 1% of Twitch.
Oh, that 52 viewers is a lot. Yeah.
I think some of my intent, some of the times I'm intentionally going to Twitch for something is a YouTuber who is already making video content I like is streaming.
Yep.
There's a bunch that are an artist I already know from somewhere is streaming, and they're honestly mostly not doing that on Twitch.
Most of the times that I am clicking through to a stream, it's because it's a person that I either know or at least follow on Twitter, and there was a going live that went across the screen, or someone's playing a thing that I'm curious about, but in that case, I'm probably only going to watch a few minutes just to see what it's all about, or there's a Twitch drop that I want to farm, and I've tried to find the least questionable streamer to have muted in the background while I farm 4 hours of a stream.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who's going to be chill and not shouty?
So this week I joined the ranks of those who have a Steam Deck, and I've already bricked it.
Then you exited the ranks of those who have a Steam Deck?
No, it's fixed. But I absolutely got it into a state where it couldn't boot.
I was commenting to Belle earlier. I love the Steam Deck because it does what feels impossible. I have long been an advocate for, if you have to make a trade-off between versatility and accessibility, you should be accessible, not unless you are a very, very specific sort of thing, catering to a very, very specific sort of highly technical audience, go for accessibility. But the Steam Deck does both. Like, Bell can hack this thing wide open to the point where he's bricked it and resurrected it.
Yeah, and it was easy to resurrect. Like,
Wow.
I mean, I
Like,
know what I
same
did, but yeah, no, like it took, I don't know, like 2 hours later. But yeah, it's back up. Like, so, okay, so what's hilarious is like, you know, I created a channel called On Deck because Lyle and I were talking back and forth. He also got his this week. And you know, we're both on the side of the spectrum that's going to do nonsense with the devices. I have Steam games on mine. I have games from Epic Games Store. I have games from Good Old Games. I have xCloud Gaming. I have Stadia. I have a whole slew of emulators, and they all play nicely and just look like they're Steam games.
In the meantime, I opened the box, I plugged it in, I loaded up a game, I played the game. It was great.
Is it pretty easy to do all of that stuff, Bell?
Oh yeah. Like I have been blogging my adventures and writing out directions on how to do it, and it seems more complicated than it actually was. Like, the true hero of getting xCloud going was Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge released an update for the Steam Deck that adds full support for all of the buttons on the controller.
Nice.
Like, not just I'm going to make it mimic an Xbox 360 control. No, like, it's supporting the double trackpads. It's supporting both thumbsticks, the back buttons, the shoulder buttons, all the extraneous configuration options. Like, that's the real magic of the Steam Deck, I think, is the fact that it has so many optional configuration. Like, it is completely reasonable to play a mouse game entirely on the Steam Deck without doing anything else. Like, it's the thumbstick or the trackpads do such a good job of emulating mouse input.
Does Edge come installed automatically on it?
No, you gotta boot it into desktop mode, and it's got it's basically just a Linux install when you're in desktop mode, and there's a package manager called Discover, and most of the things that you would want to install are available through that. So, like, you can install Edge and
custom version of Arch. I actually installed it's the new Steam OS on my laptop because I am that kind of person.
I'm so ready for Steam OS to really be ready for prime time for laptops and desktops.
It's not. By the way, it's not. Don't do this thing.
Yeah. But I'm so ready for it too, because like this might succeed in getting a lot of people onto Linux.
I was about to say, but there is no browser that you have to use to download, because it would be deeply ironic if like you were the sole purpose of, like, I don't know, Firefox was to install Edge, given that the sole purpose of Explorer used to be to install Chrome.
Yeah, it mostly uses Flatpak for installing software.
Explorer is dead. Long live Explorer.
But like the thing with Edge that makes it so ideal is just the fact that Microsoft apparently took the time to support the controller so that you could run xCloud and even Stadia in a browser, and it feels like a fully fleshed out version of it. It launches full screen. It has full controller access. One of the things that you have to do, though, is run some sudo commands that grant Edge access to the controller, but that's a step that's manageable. The thing that I learned very quickly is if you use the standalone Steam Link, like the Steam Link software, not Steam Link as running through Steam, but just the standalone Steam Link, if you're in desktop mode, it works as basically a remote desktop software. So you can boot into desktop mode, connect into it through Steam Link, and then have full access to your mouse and keyboard while you're configuring anything on your device. Like, it's just shocking how well this has worked. Like, it's almost as if they planned it. And like, I've not scratched the surface of some of the stuff that I can apparently do. Like Simu and
It's a clever idea to say, you know what? We're going to let you hack this wide open because now, hey, we don't have to be like Steam doesn't really try to be a like walled garden.
No.
No, they've always let you do pretty much anything you wanted to with it. It's just they're a storefront and a delivery vehicle. And that, like, a few weeks back, I don't know if it was on show or if it was off show, but Tam, you had made some comment about my distaste of Apple is not that different than, Steam also being DRM. But, like, for me, the thing that has always made Steam different is they're completely wide open to letting people do weird stuff. Like, you got a key from some other place, you can register it with Steam. You wanna mod the hell out of your games, fine by us.
It's almost like Valve realizes that letting people bring in all their stuff and shove it into Steam makes it more likely that those people will then stick around in Steam and spend more time in it, and maybe
That having been
buy things
said,
through it.
you want to know what you want to know Discovery sucks? Steam.
Steam,
does.
yeah, it
It
does.
It's because it's got over 50,000 games.
There's so much that,
Because they let you put whatever you want on it. They're like, yep, that's fine. Hope you didn't need to find anything on here.
like occasionally I'll find out, like I'll learn that a game exists and be like, oh yeah, this has been on Steam for months.
Mhm.
I never even knew this game existed.
Well, the other thing that I find really weird is how strict their good on deck certification is.
Oh, it's unbelievably strict.
Because so many games I'm playing work just fine, but they're like in the has issues column. And like, sure, maybe like the font might not be as large as it could be, or I may have to use a trackpad every now and then to simulate a mouse, but like they work fine. But it's so, I have so few games that are quote unquote working perfectly on the deck, but everything that I've tried has been fine. I mean, there are hoops that you have to jump through. Like I got New World working on the deck, because, I plan on at some point, doing the restart. And it would be great to, run around on the deck and farm stuff. And I had to get easy anti-cheat working underneath the Steam Deck. But thankfully, someone in the community has created a runtime that does that. And that's the other real hero of this, is the community has created so many cool and useful things that fill gaps that are not quite fleshed out. But yeah, it's been hilarious to kind of, see the vastly different patterns of usage that Tam and I have, because I've probably spent more time tinkering than I actually have been playing. But like, it reminds me of all of the weird emulator consoles that I've played with, like a really high quality one. Yeah. Although, like, this is probably the last little micro topic that I'm going to talk about. The Steam Deck has set an almost impossible bar, and it makes a lot of other things seem just completely unreasonable. So this week, Logitech announced a cloud gaming device. It is going to be basically an Android tablet in a Switch-like form factor that is designed to play like xCloud and Nvidia Play, whatever, and Stadia. But the problem is it has a discounted price at launch of $300, and it will normally be $350. And that seems like a wholly unreasonable purchase up against the base Steam Deck.
How much is the base Steam Deck?
$400, $399 for the baseline Steam Deck, which I got. I think, Tam, you got the 512 model, right?
I think Tam was summoned away.
Okay, yeah, I think he got the 512 model. Kind of my reasoning.
The highest end is 650, so
Kind of my reasoning was that I know me, and like I currently have over 4 terabytes of fast storage on my desktop full of games, and 512 wasn't going to cut it. So I figured I would upgrade to a terabyte at some point and just deal with SD cards until then. But running everything off of SD card, I've not really noticed any significant performance issues, which you would think SD card is the worst possible option, but they did some magic and the games load extremely quickly. And once they're running, it's not even really noticeable performance-wise as compared to like even my desktops. So, I mean, you could in theory survive on just a handful of SD cards because you can hot swap the SD cards and it like adds the games on the fly that are on the SD card. But I mean, like when you consider like you can get a Steam Deck for $400, this $350 streaming tablet that only does that seems like madness.
Questionable. Yeah.
Considering like in a week I've got those same streaming options configured on my Steam Deck. Well, we have probably run our normal time.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Happy 25th birthday to Ultima Online.
Man, okay,
Madness.
So when you talked about people making things and whether or not we would like them, I thought of Richard Garfield.
Yeah.
Because I haven't really liked a game since Ultima 6. He's
Ultima
released
7
a lot of games.
Ultima 7 was real good.
I don't think I ever
Ultima
played
8 was disappointing. But yeah, he's another one that like I don't know. He's trying to make things, and I just don't know.
Yep, I am significantly
No
less
for me.
interested in it, especially now that he's into some sort of NFT based game.
Yep, big no there.
Yep. Anyway, well, hopefully you enjoyed the show.
No effing thanks.
Nope.
Yep.
We will see you again next week. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.